Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Weekly Wisdom. I'm Dr. Raoul Mathur with Mathur Dental Education, and I hope you all had a wonderful week of practice. Uh, this week's episode, I want to cover dental practice ownership and the different wealth avenues that are available. Now, some of you might be reading that and thinking, wealth avenues? What do you mean by wealth avenues? Well, I'm referring to the financial pathways that exist for those that are in the position of ownership of a dental practice. So these pathways are only available to those dentists that have made that leap into ownership. So all dentists, associates and owners alike, are fortunate to be in a position to be able to earn a comfortable living. Hopefully you guys have found this. However, dentists that own their own practice get to establish an asset that can help the dentist achieve some financial goals within their life and career. Owning a practice can lead down multiple different avenues of wealth. The three I want to cover with you today are number one, the avenue of an eventual sale of your practice to another dentist. Number two, the eventual sale to a DSO or corporate entity. Or number three, maintaining ownership of your practice over your career and the potential investment of income. So let's get started. The avenue of the eventual sale to another dentist. Up until recently, this was the main exit strategy for dentists, and it's one that's often still used. Sale of a practice was usually based on a valuation of between 75% to 125% of 1 year's revenue. And this is depending on your location. So where I'm located, the sale of a practice, if it's not being valued by cash flow or EBITDA, it's usually at about 125% of 1 year's revenue. But in many locations, it's between 75 to 125%. So for example, a practice that was started at 500,000 that grows to 2.5 million in yearly revenue would sell for between 1.875 million to 3.125 million, depending on where you are. So this would be a return of investment of 3.75 to 6.25 times your initial investment. Not bad. This sale would come after a career of earning perhaps over $700,000 a year. Not bad with this avenue of the eventual sale to another dentist. Let's look at number two. This is the avenue of the eventual sale to a DSO or a corporate entity. So today, corporate dentistry is motivated to buy up market share in a solid earning industry. This has led dental practices to be valued completely different than in the past, or is completely different to avenue number one. So now the private equity companies or whatever corporate entity is behind the DSOs that own a lot of the dental companies are using multiples of EBITDA to determine buyout packages. Now, I'm not going to go through EBITDA in great detail here, but if you look it up, EBITDA is referring basically to a formula. It's valuing cash flow. So, for example, if you got two separate practices that are earning the same amount, but one has a higher cost, a higher expense structure, they're going to have not as favorable an EBITDA as the other practice. So, when a corporation is in expansion mode, I've seen multiples of up to 12 times EBITDA being offered. Now, this is on the absolute highest end of what I've seen, but if I have seen it being offered, and I've seen practices sell for this. So, for an example, a dental practice that is 12 years old, billing $2.5 million a year, and has a 25% EBITDA. So that would mean that their EBITDA is 625,000. So let's just say they were able to sell towards the high end of one of those cycles. So what I mean by the high end of one of those cycles is when you often see a new corporate entity enter into a market place, they're keen to establish themselves and they go on a buying spree and they can often buy up a certain amount of market share. And in the past, they've been really paying for them. So they might have a period where there's buying packages or buying practices for a higher multiple of EBITDA. So this practice that's billing 2.5 million a year with an EBITDA of 625,000 sold for a package of 10 times EBITDA. So that's $6.25 million on a practice that did $2.5 million the 12 months prior. So practice started up for $500,000, sold for 12.5 times the initial investment, all the while earning an average of approximately $725,000 a year during the 12-year period. I'm talking that $725,000 a year is to the dentist. Again, not bad for avenue number two. Now note, usually you have to stay on for a couple of years to ensure the continued production with the handover to the corporate entity. Other conditions can exist. Now, to play devil's advocate here, you can hear oftentimes from different stories of people having varying degrees of experiences from selling to corporate entities. But these are the raw numbers that you're seeing displayed out into the profession, and looking at it just from a financial aspect, it seems like a viable avenue, and many dentists are taking this avenue. But I want to show you avenue number three, and that's just maintaining ownership. So there's a lot of value in simply owning the practice over a period of time. By being in the ownership position, long-term wealth can be created. So this can involve owning the practice, but employing associate dentists. So let's look at this, maintaining ownership. So for example, a dentist that starts their practice at 35 years old, the first 2 years they build up their cash reserve and grow the practice. At 37 years old, they start contributing to a low-cost investment index such as the S&P 500. And from the ages of 37 until 60, they contribute an average of $200,000 to the index a year. So the index returns an average of 9% per year, as it has historically. And at age 60, they have a practice that's grossing $4 million and an investment portfolio of $16.6 million. So that's a net worth of $20.6 million. Keep in mind, if you think I'm stretching the numbers, this is being conservative because I'm not including any cash that's been saved along the way. So this is the beauty of compounding. That $200,000 a year at 9% per year, compounding over all that time. So why can they do this? Simply put, because they were in an ownership position. Two reasons. Reason number one, they were in an ownership position where they had that cash flow and that income coming in. And number two, they owned it for a long period of time. This is a 37 to 60. So this is a 23-year period. So that time allows that compounding to really take effect. Now, this is not to be construed as any investment advice. Please consult a financial professional. But this is a strategy that owners are able to take advantage of when they're thinking about their career. So I wanted to show you these avenues because, again, tying into what we covered last week when we were discussing associating versus ownership, this is the type of wealth that I think is in a different realm that most people think of when they think of their career as an associate dentist. And to get into this realm, ownership is one of the givens that's required. Interesting. So, getting into ownership. I'm a big proponent of getting into ownership by doing it yourself. So if you know anything about me and Mathur Dental Education, we're offering our program to learn how to do it yourself. If you think about us as dentists, really, we're students at heart. We're used to following a path set by someone else. So if you think about us, we've graduated high school, completed anywhere from 7 to 10 years of post-high school education. And if you think about what that means, it means we're given an area to study, and then we're evaluated on it. And how well we do on that evaluation or exam, that test, that clinical test, we are used to that process. We're used to following someone's path and excelling in that path and moving on to the next area or to the next goal or the next obstacle. But we can get stuck in the same mentality when we start working like this as well. We're often waiting for a path to unfurl itself. We're often waiting for our boss to offer an ownership opportunity or for an opportunity to come to us. Sorry for the typo. Starting a practice involves setting your own path. Even if we do decide to start a practice, we often do it by going through the supply company so that we can follow their preset path. However, this means that we have to pay hundreds of thousands of dollars more than we should. We need to learn how to do it ourselves. We need to embrace the idea of becoming an unruly dentist. Well, by unruly, I mean being disruptive and not amenable to control. By disrupting the established way of starting a practice, you can remove a lot of the financial control and risk that gets placed on many new practice owners. What I'm referring to is the established way of starting a practice through your supply company. Now, I understand there's a lot of comfort in it because we don't know how to do it. But that's adding hundreds of thousands of dollars to the overall price, which is adding hundreds of thousands of dollars to our debt, which is adding more to our old monthly expenses, which is adding more stress to achieving a higher number that we need every month. So, this is a pretty good segue for me to plug our program, How to Start and Run a Dental Practice Successfully. I want to cover some of the areas that we will um, really take you through to create a tailored identity for your practice, which accentuates your best qualities as a dentist. To create a tailored identity for your practice, which accentuates your best qualities as a dentist, allowing you to do the work that you enjoy doing. We want to successfully match this tailored practice with a demographic location that's needing your specific practice vision, providing the community with the perfect practice for its population in an ideal marriage. We want to design and build a practice yourself. This is what I'm talking about in order to save hundreds of thousands of dollars. We want to successfully plan and grow your practice past your break even point and early into your first year. We want to understand the metrics that will make both your practice and your business successful. And we want to set up a plan for growth and to understand the mechanisms within your practice which will feed that growth. Ultimately, we want to reduce the risk and increase the ability to achieve profit, thus making practice ownership a rewarding endeavor and have access to those 3 avenues that we discussed earlier. So this is the program with Mathur Dental Education, How to Start and Run a Dental Practice Successfully. It's 23 modules split into 2 parts. Prudent Practice Startup will take you where I envision you are right now, which is you have a thought in your head that this is something that you might like to do, all the way to a completed practice that's tailor-made for you. And then the second part of the program, this is all included, is Flying First Year Success, which will take you from that empty practice to the end of your first year, which has been successful. Now, this is not an exhaustive list, but these are some of the things that we will cover in the program. I'm not going to go through them all right now, but if you want to be able to go through them, you can go to mathurdentaleducation.com. And you can actually see, I've put up module 1 of the program on my website. If you want to have a look at it, just go to this website and you can have a look. I hope you all have a wonderful weekend. If anyone has any questions, you can email me at mathurdentaleducation@gmail.com. Have a great day.